lower all of that noise way down. What's up, everybody? This is Francisco and Andrew for our 65th episode of Sports Goofs, and it just continues. That's what I've called this episode because we're gonna keep going for as long as we can keep going. We might take a break, maybe before our 69th episode, and open with later on with a 69th episode. I think that would be really nice. Wouldn't you agree, Andrew?
That would be very nice.
Yeah,
I still don't know how on earth we still have content. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that might be why. We might have to pause for a bit, let things build up once more, and then we come back with a very nice 69th episode. But we got in the background NCAA football 11 for the PS2 in the background. I hit random, and I got Middle Tennessee State versus UConn. So make of that what you will. And okay, the score is UConn is up 2-0 against Middle Tennessee State. So
what year is this game?
NCAA football 11.
11. I'll say this: in real life, I would take UConn in that matchup in 2010 rosters. Even 2011, I'd take them. I think they went to a BCS bowl that year.
Let's look that up. I mean, we might as well. This is Sports Goose. We have the power now to just look it up on the screen. That's different. So let me give that a shot here. So 1 second. So what's it? The 2010 UConn football team. And let's see what Wikipedia has for us. Let's see. And Big East co-champion. They went to the Fiesta Bowl and lost 20-48 versus Oklahoma. So,
yeah, that's not surprising.
Oklahoma proving that maybe they can win a bowl game every once in a while. Okay.
Are you kidding? They won a national championship in 2000, and
I'm just saying the last few years haven't gone well for them. And 2000 is now, 20 years ago now? So, it's a long time.
They'll be back eventually.
Well,
I'm pretty sure.
It's more about how, they keep choking on the biggest stage. All right?
Yeah.
They're the Clayton Kershaw of college football lately. So, there you go.
But I will say this, though. If said matchup were to happen right now, I'd take I would take Middleton. I would take the Blue Raiders 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, if Freddie's got up there, I might take UConn as the home team in this one. And he of course he's on the ball with this. They went to the Fiesta Bowl in 2011, 2010 season. So
right, and like I'm saying, if this was 2010, 2011 UConn, then I'm taking them 100 times out of 100. Short of a massive upset like App State, Michigan.
Mm-hmm. They lost to Michigan that year, actually.
Oh, really?
To start out the season.
But yeah, short of a massive upset, I'm taking UConn every day.
Okay. All right. So that's a weird way to open this episode, but we just dive right into the 2010 UConn Huskies football team. But here we are.
We're desperate for
the
content.
quarantine-tastic world of sports right now. As we've got UFC results on the top screen, NASCAR, German Bundesliga. So the desperation is at an all-time high at this point for us. We're just trying to scrounge up some sort of content here. Well, Andrew, there's one thing I know I can talk about. That's hockey.
All right.
So the National Hockey League is trying to make things happen with regards to a continuation of the 2019-20 season. There is currently a proposal in the works for rather than continuing the regular season, just jumping straight onto a 24-team playoff, it's an interesting scenario here, and I'm going to try and bring up the bracket on the screen here. I think here's a good one. Can we get the full thingy onto the screen here, please? I wish I could zoom. Why can't I zoom this in much more than I can? Oh, no, not that one. Wait, what is this? Oh, that's from Two in the Box. That's their, all right. That's their format here. Let's see. Somebody's got to have a good one of these. Well, regardless, I'll just tell you about it. So, the expanded 24-team Stanley Cup playoff bracket. So, we've got a Greg Wyshynski article from ESPN. And the focus is skipping right to the playoffs. Right now, it's not a certainty that that's what's going to happen, but I think people are leaning more towards doing that rather than anything else. And it'll be a 24-team tournament that would include a best-of-3 play-in round.
Okay, interesting.
And really, at this point, let's see, an NHL source said the number of teams in the postseason and the format itself would be entirely dictated by the schedule for the restart vis-a-vis next season. And they have no idea on the timing, so this is all trying to accommodate more teams now, I guess make up for teams that were in the hunt when the regular season was put on hold, and appease the teams that were already in a playoff spot when that happened too, and try and make way or make something happen with regards to whether the NHL would be able to restart their season come early October like they normally do. So the playoff format goes like this. We've got the play-in rounds, which would be a best-of-3 series for the teams that were on the fringe here. So right here, according to this format, I think the top 4 teams in each conference would essentially get like a bye round. Then from there, you've got, in the Eastern Conference, you'll have the Columbus Blue Jackets facing off against the New York Islanders. And the winner of that series would go on to face the Boston Bruins, who finished as the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference. Then from there, you'll have the Pittsburgh Penguins going against the Montreal Canadiens. And they would have the opportunity to play the Philadelphia Flyers. So I'm pretty sure the NHL would love for the Penguins to win that series to go off and face Philadelphia, which is just a bitter rivalry between those two teams. Then they'll have the New York Rangers going against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the winner of that would go on to face the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then finally, the Florida Panthers, which I'm already liking this proposal anyways, because I didn't think the Panthers would make the playoffs in the old scenario. They would go against the bunch of jerks in Carolina, and the winner of that would move on to face the Washington Capitals. So that's the Eastern Conference playoff pool. In the Western Conference, you've got the Calgary Flames versus the Winnipeg Jets. And then the winner of that would go on to face the defending champion St. Louis Blues. Then you have the Edmonton Oilers facing off against the Chicago Blackhawks. And the winner of that would go on to Dallas to face the Stars. The Vancouver Canucks would face the Arizona Coyotes. And the winner of that would move on to face the Vegas Golden Knights. And then finally, you've got the Nashville Predators against the Minnesota Wild. And the victor would move on to face the Colorado Avalanche. So those are some of the interesting matchups you would see. Calgary versus Winnipeg. You'll have a Western Canada matchup. It wouldn't be Edmonton versus Calgary, which I think everybody would have loved to see. But oh well. Then you've got Edmonton versus Chicago. The Blackhawks wouldn't have. I didn't think they would have made the playoffs in the normal scenario, but here they would have come back. Maybe a last hurrah for the Blackhawks to try and get one more championship from that core group that they've got, which is aging now. And you'll have Connor McDavid going up against Patrick Kane. So that's a delight right there. Then you have the Vancouver Canucks against Arizona. Really for me, that it'd be interesting to see Arizona win to go face off against Vegas and have your desert matchup between the two hockey teams. And I already said Pittsburgh against Montreal. Of course, that would be Crosby going against the more storied franchise in hockey history. So that's always an interesting bit. And then you have the New York Rangers against Toronto. You'll have basically the two largest hockey markets facing off against each other, which I don't think has happened in a long time. The Canes and the Panthers, you have your Southeast Division redux in a way, because they all used to be in the same division. And they would go against Washington, which would also be a redux for the Southeast Division. And
I'm doing some research here. You got me thinking when you were mentioning the battle for Alberta. The last time that happened in the playoffs was was the 1990-1991 season. Back when you had the Campbell Conference and the Smythe Division. It was a close one. They lost in the division semifinals, which I think it was the first round at the time, which would be the equivalent of the quarterfinals now. No, hold on. Quarterfinal, semifinal, final. Yeah, so they had 4 back then. But it was, they had, instead of calling it conference quarters, conference semis, conference finals, they had it as division semis, division finals. But I digress. They last played 1990-1991. Oilers won 4-3. So we're approaching 30 years now that there's been a battle for Alberta in the playoffs. Which, considering how feisty it got this season, I would love to see it.
And they were kind of headed for the trajectory of having that first round matchup anyways, in the regular scenario. So people were kind of chomping at the bit for that to happen, and unfortunately, really, I'm surprised the NHL just doesn't do, throw out the East versus West thing and just have your most favorable first round matchups, regardless of where the teams are in the standings. So just put Calgary versus Edmonton to have that. Put Florida versus Tampa Bay just to start out. Put Pittsburgh versus Philadelphia. Start with the rivals. I don't know if Vegas really has a rival at this point. Well, I would say the San Jose Sharks, because how much they got screwed up last year with the Sharks penalties that destroyed Vegas. But you could really, but I guess this is the most fair for especially the teams that were the top 4 in their conference anyways, the division leaders. You don't want to punish them by having them play more games. So having them have a bye round a la the NFL is nice. Um, I'm excited if this does happen because I would get to watch playoff hockey regardless of whether you want to put an asterisk behind this championship or not. I mean, it is what it is. It'll be an interesting scenario. The Stanley Cup, as we've said before in the past, Stanley Cup has had in its history different scenarios of how it's been handed to its winners. Before it was a Challenge Cup,
Right.
so it wasn't until the creation of the NHL, and look, it was established as the de facto championship trophy in 1926. The NHL became a league in 1917, so even the first few years of the NHL's history, the Stanley Cup wasn't the trophy handed out, and it was handed out in different ways, and they had to face off against other teams. So it's I think it's kind of in line with, it's almost like a throwback in a way. So I think this would be a pretty cool scenario for this to happen. There's the history of the Stanley Cup, the Challenge Cup era. So these are so none of the teams that played for the trophy had a formal playoff system back then. They all had their own respective champions. So that was pretty cool. So this could be, in a way, a throwback to that time. Just you put an asterisk or whatever you want behind it, but the teams are still fighting for the cup, and teams have been fighting for the cup since the early or the late 1800s. So let's just keep it going.
Yeah, honestly, I just want sports back. I mean, at the end of the day, it's what's more important is that people stay safe. That we don't risk more infection. But still, we're missing. Pretty much everyone's missing sports at this point. I mean, John Oliver did a whole segment on it this past Sunday. How the thing is affecting sports, and it's interesting retrospect to see how much has been affected. I mean, we're starting to regain, it seems, some normalcy, relatively speaking, in the sports. Looking at the score crawl here, you've got the Bundesliga resumed, without fans, of course, and you had NASCAR, which apparently drew the most people for. I don't remember, but they drew a large crowd, and then of course you have the UFC, which was up in Jacksonville, and supposedly they're going ahead with their Fight Island concept, which again John Oliver thought should have been called UFC, but C meaning it being spelled SEA. Get it? Because it's an island.
Yeah, I get it.
Which was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, NASCAR had 6.3 million viewers.
Yeah. I mean, when you're starving for any sort of sports, you're not gonna be picky with what's on.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I personally wouldn't watch NASCAR, regardless of how deprived of sports we've been.
Yeah, I didn't tune in, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. And some people who are racing fans, but fans of other forms of racing, like F1, don't really particularly like NASCAR anyways, because of the lack of other directions other than going left in a circle.
Well, they do occasionally turn right.
Oh. Switch it up on people.
And then, Tony Danza, our occasional viewer and one-time contributor, who's a NASCAR fan, he would be proud of me of mentioning this, but you've got road courses as well in NASCAR, which are similar to F1. I forget which are the road courses, but there are, I think, 3 or 4
How is this
sprinkled
game
throughout the
still
season.
2-0? I'm looking at the score of UConn Middle Tennessee. It is still 2-0. Second quarter with 7 minutes left. UConn with the ball right now.
You do you, MTSU.
And that just got picked off. So MTSU just picked off UConn right now. Okay.
Although, now that I'm thinking about the John Oliver episode, I'll end it here. But one thing that he mentioned, which was really cool because I've been following this as well, is something called Yella's Marble Race. Marble
What is that?
races.
How do
Those
you
are
spell that?
absolutely incredible, and I highly recommend them.
Okay. There's a YouTube channel based on the Netherlands run by Yella and based around the game of marbles, marble runs, and marble races.
I'm a huge Oceanics fan. That's my team, even though they haven't been really successful. But that's my team right there.
Oh, wow. Oh, I have to see this now. Okay. Oh, they have a stadium and everything. That's
Mm-hmm.
great.
And they have fans as well.
A photo finish. This is great. World's leading marble sports event. Wow. The Haze Amaze. They've got their own like clubs and fans.
Yeah, they've got the Hazers, you've got the
Oh
O
my.
Rangers, Mellow Yellow. Trying to think of who some of the others are. Um, Team Primary. Great stuff, and they actually, they've really gained wide recognition. I mean, they had been popular before, but they've kind of shot through the roof recently because of all of this. And I've been following them for probably probably like 3 or 4 years.
Look at their Halloween course.
Yep.
That's just great.
And they just finished up a couple of weeks, like a month or so ago. They finished up the inaugural Marbula 1, which, if you look that up, that's pretty good. It has kind of like Formula 1 race courses. And they actually got this. They asked permission from Formula 1 itself to use the name Marbula 1 because they didn't want to get in trouble, and they got the permission from F1. And as a matter of fact, now they're sort of in collaboration with F1's electric car variant. They have marbles that represent each of the different teams. They have matching colors. And one of the official Marbula, or I forget what it's called, but the electric F1, one of their official commentators comments on the races.
Wow.
And actually, so this is Marbula 1, so it wasn't the inaugural season, but this is what Marbula 1 is.
And who made this?
It's a couple of brothers out in Netherlands,
Wow.
and they do all this by themselves, and then they have an American to commentate the races.
Wow, this is
And
great.
he does a great job. The commentator does. Yep, they have their own fandom wiki. And
I'm
like
sure a Reddit page, I'm assuming, too.
oh yeah, and they have their own Discord as well. Like I said, my favorite team is if you look in there is the Oceanics. But you've got some of the teams I'll just list through. You've got Balls of Chaos, Bumblebees, Chocolatiers, Crazy Cat's Eyes, Green Ducks, the Hazers, Hornets, Indigo Stars, Jawbreakers, Jungle Jumpers, Cobalts, Limers, Mellow Yellow, Midnight Wisps, Minty Maniacs, or Rangers. They're orange. But they have all of the players, the athletes, have different names that are related. So you've got the 2020 team, you've got Clementine, Kinnowin, Mandarin, Tangerine, and Orangen. Or like for my team, the Oceanics, you've got Aqua, Sea, Shore, Ocean, and Bay, and a former athlete was tied. So they all have relevant names. It's just fantastic.
I'm grinning from ear to ear about this. Now you have opened up a whole new world to me, and I'm watching these best races right now, and I'm like, oh my god, he overtook him. This is great.
Seriously, you just need to dive in and watch. Just watch last season's Marbula 1. It's great, and then they're having another Marble League series, which is a renaming of. It's the type of stuff you do in the backyard as a kid, exactly, but to a whole new level. So they used to have the Marble Olympics, but it was renamed to the Marble League.
I'm assuming because the Olympics probably were like, that's too close to our name. Because they're
maybe, I'm not sure.
Well, the Olympics is pretty, let's see, anal about usage of their name and likeness and logos and all that. So, I'm just saying.
So they put out a request for the brothers.
Mm-hmm.
They put out kind of an ad asking people they needed some monetary support for the season.
Yeah.
And they needed one major sponsor and a couple of side sponsors. And John Oliver came through.
Wow. John Oliver's pretty good about that and supporting sports and things like that. He's a fan.
Definitely. Saw that episode of hi Urbania. Is it Urbania or Urbania? I hope one of those is correctly pronounced.
Or Urbania.
Urbania, that's another one.
So give it a little Latin flavor to it.
Either works. All right. I'll call you Urbania. So he didn't
I'm
say...
so happy this exists. It's like, oh my god, my mind is blown.
Cease, either one.
CC. Wow.
It's great, isn't it?
It's mesmerizing, really.
And you know what?
You would think like if you told it to somebody from like if you described it to somebody without showing it to them, it's like
you think it's crazy, right?
What kind of BS is this? What are they doing? This type of stuff. But it's almost like describing hockey to somebody. It's like you got to see it in order to get it. And now that
Exactly.
I'm seeing it, I'm getting it.
But here, so he didn't say how much he was paying to sponsor the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
but he said that so the Marbula League or Marble League. So you've got like a relay event there.
Yeah.
So Marble League, how it is, it's kind of like the Olympics. So you have winners of each event who get certain amount of points, and then you have an overall winner at the end. So last week tonight, for the winner of every individual event, they will be donating $5,000 in the team's name to a food bank, and then $20,000 will go to the International Rescue Committee on behalf of the overall champion.
So now the players, are these like people that send in their personal marbles? And I don't know.
Mm-mm.
I don't know how this works.
No, the brothers, they've
created
somehow,
this. They've created this lore, and this, I guess,
exactly.
like that.
Like there, you've got the O Rangers just absolutely blistering pace there, not even close. The O Rangers fans over there. So yeah, it's an incredible thing. It's addictive. I'll tell you, it's absolutely addictive, and you would never in a million years, I promise, never in a million years would you think you could get so emotionally invested in marbles. But they've got a huge following. Let me see here.
So those sponsors on the sides of their stadium, those are the ones that, those are real. Those are real.
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
Yella's Marble Runs does have a Reddit, and they have 22,000 subscribers.
Wow. This is beautiful. I almost, like, when all this is said and done with the whole quarantine and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I almost want like these guys to like go on tour in a way. It's like, oh, it's the Miami Open or whatever.
That would be great.
And like people pay for their trips, and I don't know, somebody offers them like a piece of their property or something to put like a race on. Like if you're in Denver, Colorado, like they'll just put it up against a mountain or something, or if they're in Miami, they go on along the beach and set up a course like that, or New York, like in the middle of like, well, I don't know if they can do it in Times Square, but it's something like that.
Right. I mean, certainly.
Great.
I mean, they got the John Oliver bump.
Yeah.
Who knows how many of those 22,000 became aware of them just after the show. Yes, they were on ESPN 8 The Ocho. That is true. So they do have a bit of a cult following, but I imagine now that this is literally the only thing basically going on, that their following is going to grow exponentially.
I'm sure people try to watch this ironically. It's like, let's just watch one of these, and they're not like, that was pretty damn good. I'm gonna hit that subscribe button right now. And they sell merch. They sell merch.
They
too.
do. They do sell merchandise. They sell hats. They sell shirts. They sell sweaters. They sell decals of the different team logos. I started. I don't remember when I first watched, but I watched it sort of out of curiosity. But I was like almost immediately just enamored with it, and then almost as soon after that happened, I said, I need to pick a team. I need to throw my support behind someone. And me being a big fan of the ocean, of swimming, of water, I jumped to the Oceanics, even though in this particular race, sea came in last and was eliminated. But it's a beautiful thing. I love it.
This is something like you can, I mean, you can watch this with kids
Yeah.
and just be like, yeah,
No Oceanics.
let's let's sit down and watch the new series that just came out today or something. That's pretty cool. Wow. I like how they've designed the stadium.
Yeah.
How just meticulous and like the details in what they've created here. Crazy cat's eyes. The pride.
And all the names are based.
Savage speeders.
All the names are
Pride.
based.
Oh, I see.
All the names are based on
The chaos zone, like chaos rain.
And they throw very realistic stuff in there. Like, for instance, they had a false start, so builds the tension a little bit. So the brothers, they take it seriously and they do a really good job with it.
Yeah, it's funny how you can do stuff like this, and you may have done it for like a lark or something. They might have done it that way too. It's like, let's just do this and see what happens. But then it's like, you know what, this is working, and then they just put all of their effort into it. I'm sure it was a hobby that they were doing prior to this.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just to broadcast it to the world. As I'm sure a lot of people have found different things to do with the pandemic to occupy their time that they probably wouldn't have done normally.
Right.
I've been doing the baseball broadcasts and I spent yesterday like looking at the team records and everything, and I'm like, okay, so I've done 21 broadcasts, and let's see, the Marlins are 4-2, the Yankees are 3-2, and I started lining up the records and stuff. So it's not like this stuff becomes real to you eventually.
Yeah.
By the way, the Rays are not doing so hot. They're 1-4. But that might be partially my fault because I keep using the 2002 Tampa Bay Devil Rays, and that team was not particularly good.
They were not that good.
So I probably have to throw in any team.
Look, we've got debris on the field, debris on the track, so that paused things a little bit.
I have to use any Rays team from 2008 onwards, and they'll have better luck, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, a photo finish. Wow.
So yeah, look at that. We're talking millimeters right there. One 1/100th
Look
of a
at the
second.
graphics that they've created. They've got the time down. Wow. They've got the points.
Yeah, they don't half-ass it. They
Look at this. Oh, that's fun. Okay. Wow, this show has taken a turn. I want to see what number 1 is. Oh, I went to an ad. That's a perfect place to put an ad, actually, so that's good on them.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see what number 1 is. Marble Rally 2019 E6 Spectacular Overtaking Action. Oh, let's take a look at this.
Spectacular overtaking action.
And I like on the bottom they have like the time elapsed
Yeah.
and the amounts the races has left to go with the meter on the bottom. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like I'm serious. This is professional quality stuff,
Yeah. Yeah, for real.
which you would certainly not expect uh, out of marble racing, but it's it's a beautiful thing.
I mean, when you get your audience, you get your audience.
Yeah.
So they've, you know what's our baseball broadcast? I stumbled upon a pretty like small but hardcore contingent of baseball fans in Russia.
Really.
Yeah, that they get together. Well, I guess not nowadays, but they get together. They plan like baseball games and stuff together. They follow what's going on in the major leagues. Like you wouldn't think like baseball in Russia, but they're there, and they watch what I spew. They're like, this American, he knows what he's talking about. And it's like, first off, I'm technically not American, and second of all, I am not Gary Thorne. It's always funny when I mute the announcers and it's like one of the professional guys like Gary Thorne or
Right.
um, I forgot who else was it, John Campbell or something. Just somebody professional. It's like, yep, it's totally me. And oh man, look at that. That's the finish. And even the meter turns like yellow and red towards the end of it. That's pretty cool. Wow, they've thought of everything. Wow, this has been a fantastic 20 minutes. It's a 20-minute video, but I'm totally engaged. And there they are. Thanks for watching. Selling their merch. The legend, I guess. Amazing marble races. I guess other people have tried to do it too. Quebecca's marble runs. So there you go. All right. Well, they got well, of course, you got Hot Wheels too. I know people who do that because my nephew watches some of that on his iPad on YouTube Kids. People just setting up their marble, or not their marble, but their Hot Wheels tracks and going ham with the results and stuff. That's pretty cool. This is great. The Marbula 1, Season 1, all races. It's an hour and 6 minutes of just straight up marble races. So if anybody wants to watch that, it's there, and I probably might do that tonight. We are gonna bookmark that one. Well, Andrew, we were talking about hockey, but we just ended up here, and I'm okay with that. Well, where do we go from here, dude? We're 44 minutes in. We don't plan on going a full episode or full 2 hours here.
I don't know. This kind of changed things a little bit. We may still not reach the full hour, but this definitely added a lot more to the runtime.
I mean, I can kind of get some of the smaller stuff out of the way. Maybe you can think of something else we can look at that may not even be like professional North American sports related, but I don't know, something a little like this too. So let me do that. All right.
Okay.
And, if you think of anything, we'll look it up and we'll watch it and we'll just be like, and you'll mesmerize me, like you've done with this marble racing here.
Well, I mean,
I did not know this existed.
Well, something that we could do. I don't know how much time Freddie has left, but he sent us updated.
Sure.
Updated bowl projections.
So where'd you send that to me on the
Facebook?
Did you send it to me yet, or?
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, here we go. There we go. Give me a second. My computer will not explode. So I'm really glad about that. I can actually save this and not worry that everything will just crash and burn like it did prior to this.
Freddie says that I'm good for however long you need me. So actually, let's push him I guess, to the second hour because
That's
we can
fine.
spend a lot of time on this.
I just downloaded it right now. I can talk about. I had a Hall of Famer lined up.
All right, let's talk
So,
about that then.
so yesterday I did a. So I finally got the new graphics working here on our. Well, there's our new Let's Haul Y'all screen here. But I did a game between the Minnesota Twins and the Baltimore Orioles.
Okay.
The Orioles destroyed the Twins 9-2 yesterday at Target Field. It was not very close, and one Hall of Famer that was on the Twins that you kind of forget he was on the Twins, and it's Jim Tomei.
That's right. He was briefly on the Twins.
Yeah, Jim Tomei made a lot of stops in his baseball career. Everybody kind of, we all primarily think of him on the Cleveland Indians. That's the team that he went in as a Hall of Famer on his Hall of Fame plaque. That's the Block C is on his cap there. Not Chief Wahoo, because he is he's a good man. That's for sure.
Well,
Jim Tomei.
He did 2 stints with the Indians, so
And it did make sense that he could have the Block C towards the end.
right.
So let's see. So James Howard Tomei. First baseman, designated hitter, and third baseman, bad lefty, of course, through righty, 6'4", 250 pounds, from Peoria, Illinois. And look at this. He wore, before with the Indians, 91 through 90. When he came up, he wore number 59, so he was 10 away from a very nice number. He wore number 6 later on in that 91 season, and then, of course, he went to his iconic 25, which he wore for the rest of his career with the Indians, the Phillies, the White Sox, this is a forgetful one. I forgot that he played for the Dodgers briefly. The LA Dodgers, he played a couple seasons in Minnesota, and he ended his career with the Baltimore Orioles. So it's like, wow. Like, you didn't think that he would go through that trajectory, but that's what he did. I mean, he even went back to Philadelphia at the end of his career in 2012. So he signed with the Phillies, and then he ended up in Baltimore. But unfortunately, he never got a chance to win a World Series. Or he actually had the chance. He just didn't, that the Indians didn't get it done.
Mm-hmm.
They lost in 95 to the Braves. They lost in 97 to the Marlins. And he never got anywhere close after that. Remember his injury with the Phillies back in 2005 is what opened up the spot for Ryan Howard to take over for him. And the Phillies suddenly didn't need Jim Tomei at first base. They unloaded him off to the Chicago White Sox. And a couple years later, the Phillies win the World Series in 2008. So Tomei wasn't part of that team. He was part of the 2008 White Sox, and they traded for Ken Griffey Jr.
Yep.
So, and I think they won the Central Division that year. I think they won in like a 1-game playoff too. So it was a very interesting trajectory to his career. But I mean, there's no mistake about his credentials. I mean, one of the few guys to hit 600 home runs, finished with 612, a 276 batting average, was not bad at all for a power hitter.
Right.
2,328 hits, a career wins above replacement of 72.9. That's pretty darn high up there. I mean, his 402 on base percentage, so he's on base 40% of the time. I mean, he only stole 19 bases in his entire career, so that's 22 years and he only stole 19 bases. But you're not looking for that big guy to rob bases there, so that's fine by me. And yeah, man, and I guess a general consensus among everybody is that he's just an all-around good guy.
Yeah. Big thing, a huge moment for him was his, I think it was his 600th home run,
Mm-hmm.
was a walk-off grand slam.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, that was epic.
Maybe it was his 500th.
Well, I think he
No,
hit
no, no, it was his 500th.
500th. Okay. But I think when he got to 600, I think he hit two. It was a multi-home run game when he
Yeah,
got his 600th.
yeah, it
And
was his 500th home run was a walk-off grand slam,
mm,
which is absolutely ridiculous. That's incredible.
I think he holds, and I hope I'm not wrong about this, but I think he holds the major league record for most walk-off home runs.
I think he does, now that I think about it.
I think he had like 12 of them over the course of his career, because I remember watching, and this is another thing I've been doing in in the lockdown. I've been watching old baseball highlights, just
Uh-huh.
of everything from managers getting ejected, which is always fun, to baseball brawls, which are always fun too. And
Hmm.
I saw Jim Tome's, and I think they had like all 12 of his walk-off home runs
Yep,
in his career.
that's clutch.
Yeah.
Now, so here's something interesting. There are a few, I guess, accomplishments in baseball where, excuse me, where getting into it is almost assuredly, uh, getting into the Hall of Fame.
Hmm.
Um, 600 home runs is one of those,
Of course.
um, with certain exceptions. I mean, there have been still nine players that have hit 600 or more home runs. In order, you've got Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Alex Rodriguez, Billy Mays, Albert Pujols, Ken Griffey Jr., Jim Thome, and Sammy Sosa. All of
Right.
them, with the exception of Bonds, Rodriguez, Pujols, who's still active but is barring some sort of major controversy, is guaranteed to get into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
I know we had mentioned, I
And
think it was us, we mentioned that he is seeing kind of a downturn in his production lately.
well, it's not just us. It's well, we talked about it last episode
Right,
about players affected by this pandemic, or and players that might actually benefit from it. Older guys who maybe could use a year off to
right.
come back, but then of course a year off might mean more rust on them, and just one more, or they just can't. They're just age badly. And Pujols is one of them. He's one of those what if guys that we kind of don't know where it's gonna go. He's had his surgery, so maybe it'll just make him recover from that, and he'll just end up being good. By the way, Middle Tennessee State is up 15-9 in this game.
Huh.
I'm looking in the corner here.
Interesting score.
Yeah.
But anyway, Pujols, despite his reduced production in the past few seasons, he's getting into the Hall of Fame, no doubt about it. He's definitely one of the greatest players to ever play. I mean, that's when he was playing with the Cardinals, he was unstoppable.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that the Cardinals gave him some magic powers or whatever, but it's just his production, especially his few years in the first
I mean,
few years in the league, were just
it
second to none.
it was his first 10 seasons, or
Yeah,
first 11 seasons. He was just good, you
yeah.
know?
But getting back to my main point, if you hit 600 home runs, unless you took steroids, who the only ones out of it, excluding Pujols, who's active, you got Bonds, Rodriguez, and Sosa, all of whom have been tied to steroids. But everyone else is in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And actually, now that I'm looking back, even actually 500 home runs will get you in. The only ones out of the top 27, who are the 500 home run hitters, the only ones that haven't made it in are Bonds, Rodriguez, Sosa, McGuire, Rafael Palmeiro, Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz, and Gary Sheffield. Now, obviously, Bonds, Rodriguez,
All
Sosa,
of those
McGuire.
guys that you've mentioned outside of Pujols, all have some sort of link to some type of PED.
Correct. Even David Ortiz. I mean, I know a lot of people kind of look past it now, and he'll probably get into the Hall of Fame. The only reason he's not in is his 5 years haven't elapsed yet.
I I, I feel like, and this is an interesting conversation we're having now. I feel like if you let David Ortiz in,
You have to let the others in.
exactly, because it's like David Ortiz, clutch batter, of course. He probably came up big in the postseason. Probably the greatest designated hitter of all time.
Yeah,
He's
it's close between him and
and
Edgar Martinez,
yeah, Edgar Martinez wasn't the power hitter that Ortiz was. Edgar Martinez
but
was
he was
more of a
freaking clutch.
yeah, exactly. But either way, it's him and Ortiz. But if you let Ortiz in, then you have to let Alex Rodriguez in.
Right.
Then you have to let you especially have to let Barry Bonds in, because most people, I would say most people believe that Barry Bonds let's say pre 2000 was a Hall of Famer at that point.
Yeah.
And everything else he did afterwards was to establish himself as the greatest player to ever play, to age gracefully, because performance enhancing drugs help with the aging process, help you not break down as much, or help you recover from injuries.
Right.
That allowed him to just take his skills, which were already on a ridiculous level, and just propel him to the stratosphere.
Right.
So his great plate discipline, his ability to just hit anywhere on the field, became exponentially greater once he did that. And it was the power numbers most especially.
And
But
the thing is,
and that's the question with regards to Alex Rodriguez. For me, it's like, is A-Rod the same type of player that not that Pujols, but that Bonds was? I'm like, I don't know. I have my suspicions that A-Rod might have taken PEDs earlier throughout his career, and that might knock him down.
mm-hmm.
And then you have your Mark McGuire's and Sammy Sosa's, which is also kind of super controversial, because it's like I don't even know. I don't know if you call it sacrifice, but their 1998 season. There are guys Bud Selig is in the Hall of Fame. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So if Bud Selig is in there, two of the guys that helped Bud Selig get in are Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa in that 98 season. So they have to have some sort of recognition of those two guys and their performances from I would say even starting from 97 and through 99. That's how I'm looking at it.
Mm-hmm. And he was in Backyard Baseball 2001.
Imagine a roided out kid in that game. That'd be pretty funny.
I actually found an emulator that supports Backyard Baseball 2001, so I've been playing that a little bit.
Oh, I have it, or I haven't downloaded it, but I'm pretty sure I could find it. Okay, so we're at the halfway point. We're normally, I don't know if this is going to be our halfway point. We might have just been past it, but let's. How about we do a little word from our non-sponsors? All right.
I'm game.
Okay,
I'll start this week.
Sure.
Well, I guess I'll start with the obvious, and that's Yellow's marble runs.
That's your really?
Yeah,
Oh,
they've
okay.
they've they've provided me with so much joy over the past couple of years, especially right now. Um, I mean, I guess that's low hanging fruit. So I do have another one. Um, so my other one would be something called Cookie Clicker.
Cookie clicker.
Correct.
Okay, let me search for that one.
It's what's called an idle game, IDLE, and what it is, it's one of those games where you can just kind of leave it running to its own devices, and it'll keep advancing you. The object of this game is to bake as many cookies as you can.
Okay, so is it this first link here, Cookie Clicker Dashnet?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm not stumbling into something different. Oh, okay. So how does this work?
Well, you click the cookie on the left,
Okay.
and you just
Achievement unlocked. Wake and bake.
yeah. You just keep clicking until eventually on the right side of the screen, you'll see something pop up which allows you to buy a cursor. So you click that, and what that'll do is it'll automatically click for you, and that kind of begins it. You also can unlock Grandma, who will do some baking for you.
Okay. I'm putting my Mario Party skills to the test here. By clicking super quickly.
It gets addictive. I won't lie.
Okay, so I can buy a cursor. Auto clicks every 10 seconds. Okay.
Right. And then if you buy multiple cursors, they'll click on a rotating basis. So, like, let's say you have 10 cursors. That means you'll get one click every second.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. So I could buy another cursor right now.
So that
And
means
now
you'd
I
get
have
one
two.
click every 5 seconds.
Oh.
And then if you get to 100, you would get 10 clicks every second.
Wow. Okay. Okay. This is very different. You have opened up my world to alternative forms of entertainment.
So that's my non-sponsor this week is Cookie Clicker. I currently have 803 trillion cookies in my
Oh
bank,
my god!
and I'm creating 44.3 billion cookies per second. I won't spoil the surprise further, but it's a lot of fun, and the sorts of stuff you can unlock and
And you could buy
buy.
multiple grandmas too.
Mm-hmm.
How many grandmothers can you have?
Unlimited. I currently have 130.
And then you can get a farm, and then some other stuff. I like a factory. This looks like a factory.
Yep.
Wow.
And it just keeps going and going.
Indentured servitude, grandma. That's funny. Oh man. How did you find this?
One of the RCFB mods turned me onto it. And I don't know where they found it, but I just leave this running during the day, and
Okay. Middle Tennessee is beating UConn 24-12 now. It is now the third quarter, a minute 22 left. And I believe the Blue Raiders have the ball.
so anyway, that's my non-sponsor. Let's think of a good promo code. I guess promo code indentured grandmas. I don't know.
Indentured grandmas. Okay, I will accept that one. Thank you, Andrew. I'll have this running in the background. Well then. Mine is going to be probably one I should have done last week, but I chose not to, and I'll do it this week. Let me just get the search screen back to this. All right, so my non-sponsor is the CyberPower PC.
Nice.
So there you are. Get your game on. Play hard, share, stream, and code. Get high res with no lag. Mega task seamlessly. PC gaming is better than ever, and the future looks even more exciting with Intel technology. So yes, I bought one of these CyberPower PCs. Let me see if I can find the exact one that I have. I bought it on Amazon. I believe mine is this one. There we go. The RX 5700 XT has Windows 10. It has all those fancy lights and gizmos on the inside, but those are just fancy lights that don't really do anything except make it look nice and fancy. And turns me into FGOJR XXX 42069 whenever I play that. But and it comes with a cool mouse that also has LEDs in it and a gaming PC keyboard. I don't have the fancy chairs or anything like that yet. I probably should at some point. That way I don't destroy my back. But this thing is just I've been enjoying it. I mean, really, just for doing stuff like we're doing today. Just it makes everything so much easier and simpler. I'm not worried about it exploding. I'm taking very good care of it. Like right now, only 4.6% of the CPU's power is being used. While we're broadcasting this, while that game is going on in that corner there, on my other laptop, that would be at 100%. The thing would be almost on fire. And Andrew, you've seen it and you've heard it too. You've heard my laptop just act like it is about to explode. And I think it was basically on the verge of doing so a few times. But this PC just handles everything so seamlessly and simple and easy. It's easy to set up. It's like any other Windows PC that you can get. Just the initial setup at the beginning with your Microsoft account and all that stuff, and that's it. From there, I've got Xbox running on this. I'm kind of wavering on whether I want to get Game Pass, although it looks like a good deal. I think the Epic Game Store has Grand Theft Auto 5 for free right now, but that requires me to download and install the Epic Games Store, and I don't know if I feel like doing that. But I do have my Steam account, which I have resurrected for the first time in a while. And I'm still paying off this PC. I got it for a deal on Amazon. It is not the $1,500 that you see on the TV screen here. Thank goodness gracious. I got it when it was like half off, and I was like, I gotta get this now, because if I don't, I might not see this price ever again. And I'm very happy with my purchase. So I don't know what to say, dude. I mean, whoever's watching this, you guys can clearly see the difference between our past broadcasts and our current broadcast. It's night and day. It's a higher resolution. It's a higher frame rate. It's just better. Everything's just better. And, it's kind of funny that I've been doing this, and thank you, Freddie, for confirming that. I've really just been taking advantage of it by playing some old GameCube games, which is like kind of, and these PS2 games. It's like counterintuitive to getting a gaming PC. Usually people do it to play the latest and greatest games, but I like my old school video games, and seeing PS2 and GameCube games running at 4K, 60 frames per second, I don't know how you can beat that, dude. I don't know how you can beat playing games that I've never played before, or games that I play all the time, but just with a fresh coat of paint. It's as close as you can get, especially for a lot of games that probably won't see a remake, like Final Fantasy VII just had. Some games may not see a remake. We're all waiting on that Sonic Adventure remake, Sega, and you guys won't make it, so I guess this is my next alternative. Anyways, the CyberPower gaming PC, it's fantastic. If you it does everything. I'm not that tech wizard with regards to gaming PCs. I don't know what all the gizmos and gadgets are inside. I don't know what a 1080 Ti or whatever the heck those graphics cards are called. I don't know nothing about that. I don't know what a teraflop means. But they make it easy for you. You just buy this. They do it for you. I know some people are like, oh, you can get a better deal, whatever. Listen, I pay for the convenience, and it's conveniently working for me right now. So, promo code teraflop. I don't know. Okay, so that's it for me there. Well, Andrew,
I say we should move on to
Freddy stuff.
I say we should move on to Freddy's projections.
Okay, so look at the score right now: 32-12, MTSU over UConn.
Go Blue Raiders, Murfreesboro.
It's such a weird name, right?
I
feel like saying Murfreesboro because like it sounds.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say Murfreesboro, but it's Murfreesboro.
Yeah. So
anyway,
let me see if I could pull that up. Give me a second. Cancel. Let's see. How am I going to do this? Image. I'll call the image Freddy.
So, Freddie, I'm going to ask you to run through these. What sort of changes since the last one you gave us probably 2-3 weeks ago now at this point? Here we go. Let me see if I can pull them up and compare. Maybe I can see it for myself. I know he said that FIU now is bowl eligible.
They're eligible.
Alright,
so let me...
So...
bear with me here. I'm trying to get this to zoom. The issue I am finding with this is that the higher resolution means things are a little smaller for me to handle on this. So I'm trying to work with that. But either way, I'm very happy with this PC. The higher resolution is a blessing and not a curse. That's for sure. Alright, so let's see. Can I...
So I've made a couple of changes to a couple games, winners and losers, and I had to move teams around based on that. So let's see.
All right,
here.
I think I got it now.
So he now has. Let's go, I guess, bowl by bowl here. Last time he had MTSU and Kent State in the Bahamas Bowl. Now he has FIU and Ball State. Also keeping teams out of bowls they were in last year. Gotcha. Because bowls try to avoid double dipping a team in back-to-back seasons. Frisco Bowl, he now has Temple and SDSU. Oh, and let me say who he's projecting to win said bowls. He added winners this time. So he's got Ball State over FIU in the Bahamas Bowl. He's got Temple over SDSU in the Frisco Bowl. BYU over Colorado State in the New Mexico Bowl. Ohio over Arkansas State in the Cure Bowl. Looks like Georgia Southern over Charlotte in the Boca Raton Bowl. Troy over Akron in the Camellia Bowl. Mississippi State over Utah in the Las Vegas Bowl. That's a shocker. I was not expecting that because Utah was a game away from being in the college football playoff last year, but they just got destroyed in the Pac-12 championship, thus ending their run. That's interesting to behold. And Mississippi State, of course, was... Man, what was their record last year? They were not good, and they were beneficiaries of losing a lot of 2019's production. So that's a lot of production they're losing if they're going to go from nearly making the playoff to the freaking Las Vegas Bowl. See, Mississippi State, I think they weren't bowl eligible last year. Mike Leach, right. They do add Mike Leach. Let's see, what was their... No, I don't want 2020, I want 2019. Yeah, they were 6-7. So they were bowl eligible. They made it to the Music City Bowl against Louisville and lost 38-28. They were beneficiaries. The only reason they were bowl eligible, the only reason is thanks to, I forget his name, but it was a boneheaded move by a player from Ole Miss who...
Oh!
Do you remember this?
Piss and Kiss. The Piss and Miss.
Yes. Piss and Miss, that's correct.
I remember watching that game with my brother-in-law.
The only reason that Mississippi State was bowl eligible is because of the Piss and Miss.
Yeah.
The only reason. This is one of the craziest things I have ever seen in college football, let alone one that I saw live. Yeah, that's... There are two accomplishments. They're short of having a good season and, making it to a good bowl game, making it to a New Year's Six bowl. There are three major accomplishments a college football team wants in any particular season. First off, the lowest tier is just plain old bowl eligibility. Next, you want to get to a better bowl. Then you want to win your conference, or even just your division. Then you want to win your conference, and then you want to get to the college football playoff or New Year's Six. Somewhere, and it depends on the season, but somewhere always in that continuum is beating your rival. In this case, Ole Miss's sworn enemy is Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl, which is always held
Can I interject here a bit?
Absolutely.
So tomorrow, I don't know if you're up for doing another college baseball game, but I've been reading about great college baseball rivalries, and Mississippi versus Mississippi State is just as contentious in baseball as it is in football. Really, in everything.
I can see that. I mean,
the Red River rivalry is still as contentious as well. So there's no love loss with regards to the changing of sports. It is cutthroat as ever in every sport, really.
That's the mark of a true rivalry. It's one thing to just be rivals on the football field. It's another to be rivals on the court, on the diamond. In some sports, in the gym,
Yeah.
gymnastics. The
Track and
SEC has
field.
gymnastics teams. On the golf course,
Uh,
in the pool, you name it.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
Ohio State, Michigan is the same thing in hockey. So,
you've got and this is great news. The border war between Mizzou and Kansas is starting up again. Thank God. So what happened was
yeah.
both teams used to be in the Big 12, but due to the conference realignment in the early 2010s, um, Mizzou ended up moving over to the SEC along with Texas A&M. Because of that, th- well, for one thing, that killed the Texas A&M rivalry, which is definitely one of the top rivalries in all of sports, not just college sports.
Mm-hmm.
And then you lost the border war, which it dates back to the freaking Civil War, not necessarily in football, but in just Kansas and Missouri, the state, were sworn enemies during the Civil War. So that naturally carried over to the playing field. Um, I'm glad to see that Mizzou and Kansas are setting aside 2 games. I forget what years, but they're setting aside a couple of games. Actually, I can look that up right now. Mizzou. Man. Let's see. Conference. Big 12. Kansas. So they're playing. Wow, it's really far down the road. They're playing at Mizzou at Faro Field on September 6, 2025. And then they're playing at Kansas over in, I forget the name of the stadium, but they're out in Lawrence, Kansas. They're going to be playing there on September 12th, 2026. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah,
I've
I got it.
gone
I got it right here too.
I've got way off on a tangent. But let me go back to what we're really here for, which is Freddie's projections. ULL, Louisiana Lafayette, is going to essentially be in a home game for the New Orleans Bowl against Rice. He has Louisiana going over them.
And
Cincy,
I just want another interject. Texas and Rice have a great baseball rivalry too.
yes, they do.
They're always
For
both teams are almost always good in baseball.
Yeah, well, Rice has had a bit of a downturn recently. I've talked to a couple of Rice fans, but they're very good back in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
They actually won it all, I think, in 2004.
Yeah, something like that.
So yeah, and so let's see. So over in the Gasparilla Bowl, he has Cincinnati over UAB. He has my UCF Knights going back to the Aloha Stadium over in Honolulu. 10 wins for Rice. Unbelievable. That's crazy. I swear, Freddie, you should put that in the RCFB Discord. Put that as your hot take for the year. That would be like a major. I don't know. Maybe Rutgers winning 10 games would be a bigger hot take. But Rice getting 10 wins is pretty good.
I like how that sentence that he wrote can be taken out of context. I'm very high on Rice.
So he has UCF. UCF last played in the Hawaii Bowl in 2005 against Nevada. Lost on a last-second missed field goal from Matt Prater, who you may or may not know. Matt Prater is one of the best kickers in NFL history. Currently holds the record for the longest regular season or playoffs. So during the season, we're not talking preseason. field goal. I think it's at 64 yards. Or maybe he's tied. I think maybe someone tied him. Independence Bowl, he has Southern Miss over Army. He has FSU over Central Michigan in the Quick Lane Bowl. Duke over Navy in the Military Bowl. Pitt over Nebraska in the Pinstripe Bowl. Nebraska going bowling. Interesting. Maybe Frost's rebuild finally is taking shape. LSU over Baylor in the Texas Bowl. Virginia Tech, that's a big fall from national champions to Texas Bowl. And yes, I know they lost Joe Burrow and a lot of production, but still. Virginia Tech over Arizona State in the Holiday Bowl. Kansas State over Fresno State in the much beloved Cheez-It Bowl. If you look at the first iteration of the Cheez-It Bowl, you'll see why people love it so much. Oklahoma State over Syracuse in the Camping World Bowl. Oh my God. Freddie's got TAMU, Texas A&M against Texas in the Cotton Bowl. Wow. That would be amazing. The first time they've played each other since 2011 is in the New Year's Six in Texas.
Wow.
The Cotton Bowl is played at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, where the Cowboys play.
Mm-hmm.
Never gonna happen. I know.
Never gonna happen. Wow.
I know it is never gonna happen. I know. There was a chance a couple of seasons ago it would have been realistic for them to rekindle the rivalry, but supposedly one of the teams, I think it may have been Texas, backed out or tried to stack the deck against that from happening, but I digress. Fiesta Bowl is going to be Cal over
I'm
Nevada.
trying to figure out why people love the Cheez-It Bowl. I'm looking.
It was this really crappy game. It was just like...
I see here 31-21 Air Force over Washington State.
No. It was the year before that.
Oh, okay. 2018. It's played out in Chase Field, home of the Diamondbacks.
Yep.
7-10 Cal versus TCU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeesh.
It was just a...
And it went into overtime.
Yep. The Cheese Int Bowl. Very good. 9 interceptions in that game, Francisco.
Wow. The two teams combined for 6 just in the first half alone.
It was not a pretty game. But thanks to that, it has become much beloved, like our dearly departed Belk Bowl. Rest in peace. So anyway, moving on to the rest of the New Year's Six, you've got Alabama, Wisconsin in the Peach Bowl. Alabama is going to go ahead and win that. Texas Tech, SMU, another Texas, I guess a rivalry. They used to be, I believe they were in the same conference back in the 80s and 90s. A lot of the Texas teams were together, I think in the Big Eight. Forgets the names of the conferences, but a lot of the Texas teams used to be together. Texas Tech over SMU in the First Responder Bowl. Northwestern over Oregon in the Red Box Bowl. Kentucky over Illinois in the Music City Bowl. North Carolina over Iowa State. Iowa State in the New Year's Six? What is going on, Freddie? We're talking like, if all of this played out exactly as you have it, we're talking like we're approaching 2007 level craziness.
We're approaching Nostradamus type levels too, if he predicts that too.
Yeah.
Kind of like that guy that tweeted out that the Indians and Cubs would face off in a Game 7 of the World Series that would have a rain delay. And he predicted that back like in 2010 or something. I don't know if you remember that, but...
I'm going to skip a bowl briefly. Oh, and he has North Carolina over Iowa State in that one. I'm going to skip a bowl briefly until Freddie can get back to me. Got Miami over Washington in the Sun Bowl. Memphis over Memphis over West Virginia, which is literally a home game. Memphis plays in the Liberty Bowl. So Liberty over, Memphis over WVU, West Virginia in the Liberty Bowl. The artist formerly known as. Thank you. So the artist formerly known as the Belk Bowl. Again, rest in peace. It's going to be Penn State over Louisville. Moving on, in the Arizona Bowl, we've got Miami, Ohio, Miami University, losing to Air Force. Oklahoma over UCLA in the Alamo Bowl. Freddie, I have to ask you, how many wins does Indiana have this season? Indiana over Tennessee in the Outback Bowl. Minnesota over Georgia in the Citrus Bowl. Now we're getting to our playoff semifinals. Clemson over USC. Bummer. I was hoping they'd get 9 wins. There's a running gag called 9-win Deanna.
Okay.
They were really close this past season, but they ended up being 8-win Deanna. I don't exactly know the origin, but that's kind of the goal is to always get to 9-win Deanna. So Clemson over USC in the Rose Bowl. Rose Bowl. Does that mean USC was the? Oh no, you said Florida was the number 1 seed. So Florida over Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl. That's a rematch of the national championship, I think in 2008. Or maybe it was 2007. I don't remember. Yeah, I think it was 2007. I mean, the origin was right, but I don't know why exactly 9 wins. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to look really quick and see, because I know... got it. I'm just looking at the Gators right now because they won 2 championships in 3 seasons back in the mid to late 2000s. One of which was over Ohio State. Here we go, national championships. Yeah, so 2006 seasons, that means the 2007 calendar year when it happened, they beat Ohio State 41-14. They just massacred them. So that would be a rematch of that championship. So it will be Clemson, Florida in the national championship. Got Mississippi over Georgia Tech in the Birmingham Bowl. Notre Dame, Auburn in the Gator Bowl. Notre Dame's going to win that. Kent State, San Jose State in the Potato Bowl. Kent State's winning that. Tulsa over UTSA in the Armed Forces Bowl. That's a team I'm surprised to see in bowl eligibility, although if there's any indication that they were able to beat UCF last season, that's certainly possible. Buffalo over App State in the Lending-Tree Bowl. Myrtle Beach Bowl is going to be Coastal Carolina over Western Kentucky. That's going to be a bona fide home game for Coastal Carolina. Boise State over Arizona in the Los Angeles Bowl. And last, Boston College over East Carolina in another bona fide home game in the Fenway Bowl. Now, Freddie, I must ask you, who is winning the national championship, Florida or Clemson? Does it remain the same as last time? Meanwhile, as we wait for him, Clemson wins the national championship game. Nothing has changed. I think you said. God. I think you said both teams ended up going 15-1 because Clemson lost a game in the regular season, and Florida went undefeated through the playoff, but lost it at the end. So anything you'd like to add, Freddie, this? Maybe BU, Francisco, do you see anything that's interesting to you?
I'm glad that UF doesn't win, so that's good. It's good enough for me.
Yeah, it was Gator fever for quite a while when I was in high school, because they were they were returning to the highest heights that they experienced during the Spurrier era. Urban Meyer, like I said, 2 championships in 3 years. Yeah, they had under Spurrier. They had a huge string. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 championships between 1991 and 2000, and then they kind of dropped off from 2000. I'll be surprised if BC gets selected, since they probably want people to actually show up. Ooh, that's harsh. Fair assessment, but harsh.
From out of town, anyway. Oh.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people from Greenville, North Carolina, are going to be trekking up to Boston in the winter to go see a bowl game. Although ECU in a bowl game, jeez, I swear, Freddie, if most, if not all of these pan out, you're going to be a freaking genius, and this is going to be one of those wild and crazy seasons that is going to go down in history. Unreal. I will say this, however, if the season happens. Yes, of course. I will say this, though. If the season happens as planned, nothing goes awry or whatever, I would have the possibility of going to 2 of the New Year's Six Bowl, 2 of the 7 New Year's Six / championship games, because obviously the Orange Bowl played at Hard Rock Stadium, but the national championship also be playing at Hard Rock Stadium this season. So that would be interesting. If Florida got into that, it is by far going to be a Florida dominant crowd. But Clemson being relatively close, it's a relatively short trek. They're in South Carolina. I could see a pretty decent showing by Clemson fans, especially they've shown up well. They showed up really well to the Tampa National Championship game a couple of years ago. They showed up well to this season's national championship, which was out in New Orleans. And that was another bona fide home game for LSU. We'll see. I would love it if the season played out like this, with the exception of UCF not winning the conference championship and not going to New Year's Six Bowl. I don't want that to happen. I do not. I absolutely do not. Anyway, so yeah, that's college football talk. I guess kind of on a related note, Mark Emmert, who's the head of the NCAA, has made it clear that he does not. Michigan's still left out. Nice. Although one of my friends would not be thrilled with that. Mark Emmert has said that he's essentially said he does not want college sports to go on if there's no
fans.
Not no fans. He's cool with that, relatively speaking. But if there's no in-person college attendance. And the big reason for that, I believe, is because that will, if that ended up happening, that college sports proceeded with no students on campus, that kills a large argument they have that these are student athletes. Because why do these particular students have to be on campus?
Well,
right, of course. So why do these individual 400-some students, that's roughly how many student athletes there are at UCF, and I imagine it's fairly the same across the board at other schools. You're talking hundreds here. why do these students have to be on campus whereas the other tens of thousands, tens of thousands don't? That makes the argument that these are indeed employees.
Yep.
And that'll kill a large part of their argument. That'll allow the players to unionize. That would allow them to and think about that. Pro players, pro athletes, they have union backing. So, the owners can't force them into playing. The owners have to go through the players to say, how do you like this deal? Will this be acceptable to you? Not necessarily. And look, like, you've got Blake Snell coming out and saying that, unless I get my full contract, prorated, of course, or even a 50-50 share, I'm not playing. It's not worth my health, which I get it. He's gotten backlash because, this stuck-up millionaire. But I tend to side with the players because they're millionaires. The owners are billionaires. It's an easier hit for a billionaire as opposed to a millionaire. But I digress. I digress a lot. But back to my main point, these players, because they're not employees, they don't get unions. That's been ruled on in federal court. So if all of a sudden they're treated like employees, you guys have to be here to play, what's separate? There's a huge thing that's separating them from normal students. So that's why he doesn't want it. But meanwhile, a lot of colleges are saying, we're going to try and proceed as normal. But a lot of colleges are saying they're going to do all online or a majority online with certain exceptions. This information is starting to come out. On RCFB, there's currently a mega thread going, if anyone's interested, of Division I schools announcing their intentions for the fall semester. A lot of schools, kind of the popular thing right now is schools are going to start 2 weeks earlier than normal. So we're talking mid-August as opposed to the end of August. And naturally ending 2 weeks earlier. It'll be, they're going to eliminate fall break, and they're going to end the week of Thanksgiving. So they're just pushing everything up 2 weeks. I think it's to avoid the projected second wave, if you will, during the winter when people tend to get more sick, and then you've got the regular flu and other viruses and diseases going around. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Wow, I can't believe we were actually able to fill out 2 hours. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're an hour 44 minutes, but I really have nothing else to talk about, to be honest. I can leave a minor league team for another day.
Yeah, and I do need to run a little bit earlier than normal, but
okay.
I think we covered a lot.
Let's close out with our real MVPs.
Absolutely. Do you have any other real MVPs for this week?
Oh, I had a goon, but nah. We can do that next week. He's still a goon, right? He'll still be a goon by next week. No, not in particular. At least not one in the world of sports at this moment. So go ahead.
So as always, this is running and always and forever. We don't take these we've taken these people for granted before. Hopefully not anymore. Certainly not on my end. It's the essential workers, the broad term for it. Your medical, restaurants, government employees, people collecting garbage. I keep getting tongue-tied because I can't think. I never can think of everybody
Right.
that is out there putting themselves in danger right now. Because it's hard for me to name it because I'll shut off the show and I'm like, damn, I forgot. Uh, garbage, people collecting garbage, or um, people working in courthouses. Because I mean, I know a lot of things are going distance or online hearings, but people still need to be in the courthouses. Um, so I'm just going to go with the blanket essential workers. You know who you are. If anyone is actually watching this, well, that's not true. We have Freddie and BU, and I think we have a couple of other people. But if any essential workers are out there and see this, or an essential worker, thank them. They are our lifeblood right now. See, there you go. People working DoorDash or Amazon or any sort of delivery service. See, I told you, I'm going to forget somebody.
Yeah.
Any essential workers out there, thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. Stay safe. Hopefully this is over or better soon, and we can properly in person give you the thanks that you so greatly deserve. And hopefully during all this we give you the compensation you deserve, hazard pay, what have you. So thank you.
All right, Andrew. Thank you, and thanks everybody for watching. So this is Francisco. I'm signing off, and I think tomorrow we'll. If you have a chance tomorrow, can we do a college baseball game? I would love to do Ole Miss versus Mississippi State. We can go into the college football rivalry too. We can go into all of their sports rivalries. Talk about the schools. Talk about the hatred, and really delve deep into that. I mean, there is just hatred among those fans. Oh, it's beautiful.
I'm down for that. If we'll be streaming, probably, if anyone's interested in watching, we'll be streaming once again from here on Twitch and our other various streaming sites.
Especially from Russia and Japan.
Yes, there we go. We'll be streaming from there, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone, and stay safe.